and his service to others. This will serve as a constant reminder to our community of the important and lasting contributions and wars made to cocoa and the nation.
There's a
I urge my colleagues to join me in passing this bill. And they did.
Tonight.
The statewide headquarters of the Florida Historical Society and the Library of Florida History are located in the former Cocoa Village Post Office, built in 1939. This program is produced in the basement of that building. If you stand at the back door of the Library of Florida History, you can see what is now the Harry T. and Harriet V. Moore Post Office, less than half a block away.
When will people, for the sake of peace and the sake of democracy, know that no
next stoplight's mine,
can make and stop us from being free? It seems I hear Harry Moore from the earth is
gotta stop him pretty far back already.
No bomb can kill our dreams I hold, for freedom never dies. So if you see our Harry Moore walking on a Christmas night, don't you fear and run and hide. He has no dynamite. For in his heart is only love for all the human race.
So it's taking right now, I'm at 2 stoplights to get through one intersection.
To have our rightful place. And this he says our Harry Moore has, from the grave he cries. No bomb can kill the dreams I hold, for freedom never dies. Freedom never dies, I say.
My co-pilot,
freedom never
Yasha, been with me for a long time. Second vehicle, he's in with me, so yeah.
This is Florida Frontiers, the weekly radio magazine of the Florida Historical Society. I'm Ben Brotmarkle. Join us on the web at myfloridahistory.org to listen to archived editions of this program, watch original video, explore our educational resources, find out about upcoming events, and much more. While you're there, click on the Join Now button to receive our journal, the Florida Historical Quarterly, and our newsletter, the Society Report. You'll be helping to support our educational outreach efforts throughout the state. That's myfloridahistory.org.
It's like a slow stoplight.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without crying. Now I want to understand. I have done all that I could to see the evil and the good without hiding. You must help me if you can. Doctor, my eyes tell me what is wrong, 'cause I am wise to leave them open for so long.
This is Florida Frontiers. Retired physician James Vann talks with Janie Gould about the life of a general practitioner in South Florida in the 1950s.
When Dr. Jim Vann moved to Vero Beach to practice medicine in 1952, he was among just a handful of doctors, most of them general practitioners.
We had very few specialists in Vero Beach at that time. I think we had one surgeon and maybe one internist. And so a lot of our patients had to be transferred outside of town if they were in bad shape.
Yeah, it turned green already.
We had doctors like myself and 4 or 5 others who were on the staff who
and now I'm turning on to McCulloch, which is the road that leads to my neighborhood.
In the 1950s, there were woods
it's
everywhere,
also the road
and
that
that
leads to the
created an
UCF
injury that was
football
almost
stadium.
commonplace.
We had a lot of rattlesnake bites. We did
we're braking already all the way out near the intersection. That's not a good sign.
And some of them died anyway, but most of them we saved. As you know, people did a lot of hunting by walking in the woods.
Oh, this is a bad sign. I'm not even...
what your day was like.
The day when I was in practice was 24 hours long. That meant you worked 24 hours most of the time. Our usual day started
normally, if we just backed up, just like school being in session and classes,
and then by the time you got through with
I'd
all your
flip over
patients
to the left-hand lane,
went to your office,
which leads all the way down, and then I just hop into the
saw the patients that came
Chevron at the
until
corner
5 or
of
6
the intersection I
or 7
need to get
p.m.
to.
And then
And from there, I would just hop back onto
Sometimes you didn't get
McCulloch
home
on the other
until
side of the
10,
intersection.
11 o'clock in the evening.
Problem
Families
is,
were
when there's
sometimes
football games
asleep.
happening,
Most of the time, my
they
wife
close
was available.
off the
She'd
ability
have
to do that.
dinner with me, you know. I know
If you
she
get
was
into the
tired
left lane,
taking care of all those
you
kids
can't
all
get
day
back
and
onto
waiting
McCulloch
for
on
me.
the other side.
After
They
we
block it
went to
off.
bed, I sometimes had to go to the ER 2 or 3 times. It was a long, busy day most of the time.
Van has never forgotten
This
the man
is
who was
going
brought
to
to
be
the
a
emergency
sad,
room
long,
after having
long
been
wait.
stabbed with an ice pick.
When he tried to pull the ice pick out, the handle came off, but the ice pick stayed in his chest, right over the heart. I was considering which way to go with this thing because I didn't know if I could remove it without causing problem with extreme bleeding inside. And I didn't know that it was in the heart, but the man died. In other words, he quit breathing and his pulse stopped. And within the next few minutes, I was able to get some material and I made an incision in his chest on the left side. And sure enough, the ice pick was
We got
in
a
his
couple
heart,
of
so I took it out.
early tailgater people
heart
who
was behind
they come for the
big
tailgating
cloud
and
of,
they leave before the game is
blood
even
that you
over.
collected within the pericardium. So I made an incision in that, let all that blood come out, and just massaged his heart.
What a
And
lot of them
started
do is they'll
beating,
park
and
down
the
like
man
the Publix
took a breath.
at the intersection I was just
His
at.
ribs on my hand, you
They'll
know, I was
walk
in there on
over
his
to the
heart.
stadium.
I told the people around there
You know,
to
tailgate,
stand by and help
enjoy,
me
and then
because
walk
I
back
needed
to the
someone
vehicle.
hold up the ribs so I could
Leaving
keep
it
my
over
hand
at the
down. So we
Publix,
did make
they avoid the
quick
major
closure of that
traffic jam
wound.
I'm in
He
now.
continued to breathe and stayed alert and survived.
You
Now, what a
literally
lot of
brought him
people
back
do
from the
is,
dead.
like I said, they do the
That's
opposite. They park at
exactly right.
Publix
He had
and then go
died.
over
The heart
for
had
the game.
stopped.
Around 1970, Van and 2 other doctors formed the Doctors Clinic to attract more specialists to the growing community. At its peak, 45 physicians worked under one roof.
This was a great thing for Vero Beach, I think.
A
because
trip
it
that
saved
normally
a lot of
takes
us
from
patients
when I
that
started
day.
this video
a trip to
my
other
house,
cities to get medical care.
average
we could see more
2,
people,
maybe
be
3
more effective
minutes.
to get immediate
I'm
help
now at
in
7
the
minutes,
laboratories
and
and
I'm
the consultations. It
literally
saved a
not
lot of
even
people,
halfway
a lot of
down
time
this road
and
right
several lives that I can recall.
Van and the other founders later sold the Doctors Clinic, which is no longer in existence. Van retired in 1993 to spend more time with his family.
Janie Gould prepared that report.
And what happens a lot, people will go in and they'll park in the neighborhoods. And once they're in the neighborhoods, they'll park
This
on like
is
the side
Florida
streets,
Frontiers, the weekly radio magazine of the
leave
Florida
their vehicles
Historical
in the
Society.
nice neighborhoods,
Between April and
and head
September
over to the
1980, thousands
stadium.
of Cuban refugees left Mariel Harbor bound for South
I've got
Florida.
quite a nice
Their
line
arrival
of
in the United
leaving
States
the
had
neighborhoods
social
right
and
behind
political
me.
consequences. Bill Dudley talks with Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and author Mirta Ojito about the Mariel boat lift.
My parents were called gusanos, which means worms. And those are people, that's the way we were labeled, simply because we wanted to leave Cuba.
The daughter of intellectuals who deeply resented the oppressions of the Castro government, Mirta Ojito always knew that someday she would leave her homeland.
I was an immigrant from a very early age, intellectual immigrant, if you will, because my parents always wanted to leave Cuba. So I always knew that my time in Cuba would be short-lived, which is interesting because at the same time I feel very Cuban, but I knew that I was not going to live in Cuba all my life.
On May 11th, 1980, 16-year-old Mirta joined what would eventually number over 125,000 men, women, and children aboard a flotilla bound for Miami. Finding Mañana, a memoir of a Cuban exodus, is part personal story and part an effort to trace the origins of the boat lift. It began on a grassroots level, but soon talks between Cuba and the Jimmy Carter administration brought the release of several thousand political prisoners. Then for the first time, exiles were allowed to visit relatives in Cuba. Many bore gifts, symbols of American luxury, to those left
look,
behind.
I'm moving a couple
Cuban
feet.
scholar Juan Carlos Espinosa.
That family-to-family contact for the first time in many, many years, with photographs and the
And
stories
it's
about their
sad when
lives
the
in
actual
United
turning
States.
left lane also starts
Prosperity,
getting backed
hard
up.
work, and very good living
That's a
conditions
bad sign.
created a kind of expectation among Cubans, especially young Cubans, that prosperity lay across the Strait of Florida.
What happened in 1979 was that we finally woke up. We realized that we had been lied to. Hey, the United States was not what we thought, what we had been told in school. that it was possible to make a life here, that you could have a job.
Then on April 1st, 1980, a bus carrying 3 passengers crashed through the gates of the Peruvian embassy in Havana.
The diplomat who was there had a choice. He could have turned over these people to the Cuban authority, or he could have protected them. He chose to protect them. So one of the characters in my book is not only the bus driver who changed history, it's my argument, but the diplomat who decided to protect him. That led to an international crisis because in less than 72 hours you had more than 10,000 people crowding the embassy. And the opening of the harbor in Mariel was a way to get rid of those people. And that's how I and others, my family of course, ended up in this country.
Within a few weeks, hundreds of boats were on their way from Florida to pick up those wanting to leave the island. In the end, neither Castro, the administration of President Carter, nor the city of Miami was prepared for the magnitude of the migration. 25 years later, Americans members of the boat are colored by media reports depicting some of the refugees as criminals or
Florida
mental
Frontiers,
patients.
the weekly radio magazine of the Florida Historical Society. Please join us right here again next week. Until then, you can get a daily update about Florida history by liking our Facebook page at Florida Historical Society. You can also visit us on the web at myfloridahistory.org. Have a great week. I'm Ben Brotmarkle.
A lot of foot traffic on the other side. Okay, sorry about that. I got a phone call, so my camera stopped recording. I've got a bunch of people waiting for people to cross, waiting for people to cross, waiting for more people to cross. Now I get to go. And I made it a full, like, at least 30 feet. Yay! Now here's one of those paid places where they've harvested out a bunch of tree lot right there. $20 for parking. It's already filled. So yeah. There went that. Waiting. Still waiting. Jesus Christ. This is getting backed up on this side again too, so that's nice. Yeah, that person's not getting over. Attempt to turn out my vehicle. Oh, look, I'm moving. Like I said, jam-packed filled. Oh, joy. Even the church, the poor church is like slammed. It's a United Methodist Church right there. And look, I can actually see my intersection now. I'm almost there. It's only been, 12 minutes or whatever. See, the stadium is actually right over there. You can see the scoreboard. And coming up to the intersection here. See how packed it is way over there. Busy, busy, busy. And we've got the people who are here for just the tailgating. Are all these coming up who are about to leave? They're the kind who like to tailgate and party but don't want to really stay for the sport. I think they come hand in hand. I mean, you're already there, you might as well enjoy the game, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, quality just went down on that one. There's a reason I don't like to zoom. Let's see here. I actually wonder how much gas I've actually lost sitting here. What was that about I don't even know how much I actually lost so far. It's a long flippin' stoplight again. Jeez. Oh look, it turned green, finally. Oh, thank God. And guy went in front of me. The cops at the corners, like always. Firefighters are here in full effect. Here's a bunch of the people who come for just the tailgating. Now I get to see how many people are parked inside my neighborhood, which is always a fun thing. Okay. And right off the bat, that's... wow. Yeah, at least a couple. Freaking idiot just almost hit me. Yeah, normally there's like hardly 0 cars on the sides of my streets inside my neighborhood. So needless to say, we've got a lot of parkers. Anyways,